Hello, welcome back to this cooking class. Today I'm going to do something really special. It's going to be chocolate mousse. I have a big container of heavy cream in the fridge and I have to find ways to use it, and this is one of my favorite ways. You're going to need uh, 4 different bowls for this, so it's going to sound kind of complicated at first. It's actually broken down into the 4 different bowls, 4 simple steps. So I'm going to walk you through each one. You're going to be amazed. I had my middle school students making this. So trust me, you can do it. Um, so I have pretty much 2 sets of everything, especially with all the baking that I've done and with running a cafe bakery. So I have 2 sets of these glass bowls, which means I have 2 large, 2 medium, 2 small, and today I'm going to use the 2 large and the 2 medium bowls. So I'm going to use them strategically because 2 of them need to fit on my medium saucepan because we're going to do a double boiler method. So the ones that need to go on the double boiler, I'm going to use these large bowls for that. So make sure your bowls are heat proof. They're not plastic, they're going to melt, And even with the glass, of course, be careful that they are heating up and cooling down in as gradual a way as possible. So how I've started out though is I've put my medium saucepan on the stove. I've put a couple inches of water at the bottom and I've turned it on so that it can get to like a simmering point. We don't need it boiling, just sitting there hot and simmering. Okay, so the first thing I did already before starting this video is I cracked 3 eggs into a medium bowl. And you'll see why in a second. First, though, what we're going to do is put some ingredients into the large bowl. Both large bowls. So, let me get this started, and after I get this done, we're going to move over to the stove. Okay, so step 1. Bowl number 1. This is a large bowl. We are going to put in 6 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate. Now, I prefer to have the baker's chocolate squares, baking squares, but I found that I only have the unsweetened right now, and I don't want to use that. But I do have these super amazing chocolate chips that are pretty much the same ingredients as the baking chocolate. Most chocolate chips, they have a whole bunch of extra ingredients, stabilizers, flavors. This is just sugar, chocolate, cocoa butter. That's it. So these are going to work well enough for substituting. But if you want to know what I prefer and what's going to work probably the best in this recipe, I would use the baker's chocolate. And these days, the baker's chocolate, I know a long time ago, they used to sell them in like 8-ounce boxes, and then they started selling them in 4-ounce boxes instead. Which means you'll need a box and a half if that's the case. You don't want to open for me. Oh, there we go. Got it. Okay. Now, since this is a bag full, not as easily measured as squares, I'm going to put my bowl on my scale here. Make sure it's at 0 before I start measuring. Measuring out 6 ounces. 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we got 6 ounces. Take the scale away. We need 3 tablespoons of butter. So I'm going to look on the side and measure 3 tablespoons. and cut right there. You need 2 tablespoons of water. Which, of course, I could just go take it over to the sink, but to make it a little easier, stay on camera, I'm going to use this bottled water. Okay. 2 tablespoons, water. And we're just going to need 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Put that down for a second. So that's bowl number 1. Okay, I'm going to put a big spoon in here and set it aside, because that's the first one that's going to go on the stove. Simple. So, bowl number 2. This is the second one that's going on the stove. In here we need 3 egg yolks, 3 tablespoons of water, and 3 tablespoons of sugar. So, sugar, 1, 2, 3, water, 1, 2, 3. Now the egg yolks. So the reason I cracked these eggs into one of the medium bowls, these extra medium bowls, is so that the egg whites are going to stay behind in this bowl. And I'm just going to lift the yolks and put them in the big bowl. So if you want, you can do the old trick where you crack the egg and transfer the yolk from shell half to shell half, trying to isolate that yolk. Sometimes the yolk ends up totally like getting pricked from the sharpness of the shell, so that can be a problem. You can lift these out with a slotted spoon if you like, or you can, if you have nice short nails like I do, not sharp, you can lift them out with your fingers. I prefer to wash my hands first, but that's my preferred method. So I'm just gonna wash my hands, be right back. Just kind of use my fingers instead and kind of open my hand up a little bit, scoop under real carefully, just let it sit there, and you can kind of squeeze your fingers together a little bit, slide it onto the other hand, let more of the white fall through and squeeze your fingers onto the egg white, and you just have the yolk to place in there. It is important that you don't let the yolks break into the bowl with the egg whites, and that you're using a nice clean bowl free of any kind of oils or greases, because we want these egg whites to whip up nice and stiff, and they don't like to whip up when there's extra fat, extra oil in there. Now this bowl with the egg whites in it, I'm actually just going to cover it and set it in the fridge until we're ready for it. This other bowl can go in the fridge too. It's going to be used for the heavy cream, and the heavy cream whips up best when it's very cold. So keep your heavy cream nice and cold. And I'm going to chill the bowl as well. I actually just stuffed that heavy cream into the back of the fridge too, just in case, just to keep it extra cold. So, okay, we've got what we need in both of the large bowls now. So we're going to move over to the stove. There we go. Okay. You can see it's a little too high, so I'm going to turn it down. Okay. Bowl number 1 with the chocolate in it. And I do get a little nervous about like extreme heat changes, and cold changes with the glass bowl. So I'm going to hold it over for just a minute and let it warm up. I've never had any problems with these glass bowls, but you never know, because you hear the stories. Once in a while you hear somebody say they put their beautiful glass pan or glass bowl in the oven, on a stove, someplace where it ought to be able to be, and it just breaks. And again, I've never had it happen to me, but I just don't want to have it happen. It's a pain trying to replace something that you have a set of, and you kind of want the exact same kind to go with your set and to stack nicely with your set. I had to go online and wait for it to ship, because one time I guess I must have dropped the bowl, or I dropped something on the bowl, and that's why I had mine break. We're just going to stir this around. And the point of the double boiler is that it's more indirect heat. You know, we're not sticking it straight in the microwave where we got little pockets of heat and we might have little burnt spots. We're not putting it directly in a pan where you're not going to get right down there on that burner and get burnt on the bottom. Even though I like my pans, I trust my pans, they're nice and heavy, nice and thick and heavy. Those to me are the best kind. But this will be just fine. Okay, I'm just going to stir it until everything's melted. And have some pot holders on hand in case you're going to need that. The edges of the bowl might get a little hot, so when we're going to take it off, we might want our pot holders. And just be careful. Stay away from the flame if you have a gas stove like me. Keep any loose clothing, loose hair pulled back. But I do prefer the gas stoves. When I need my temperature on the burner to change real fast, like something's getting way too hot and I don't want it to burn, if I turn it down, it goes down immediately. You know, there's no waiting for those electric coils, you know, no waiting for those to cool down to match the temperature you're trying to get by turning the knob. You just instantly changes. Which I guess I've heard you can do that with some of those fancy cooktops. I've never used one, I don't know. Fancy, what is it, induction or something? It's getting really nice, getting glossy with the butter in there. I'm scraping around the edges just to make sure there's no thin areas of the chocolate where the heat will go through real fast and burn it. So this is almost melted and almost ready to go be set aside. The next bowl we're going to put on here is that other large one with the egg yolks in it. Egg yolks, water, and sugar. And when I do that, you're probably not going to be able to hear me. I probably won't be able to speak because I'm going to be using my hand mixer. I've plugged it in. I have a plug right here near the stove because my gas stove is electric starter. Don't have to light it once the power goes out. And as soon as the egg yolks go on here, that's the one that's important to continue everything moving. You can use a whisk if your arm muscles are really strong. I mean, I like to think I'm strong in certain ways, but there is no way I'm whipping things up with a whisk. So I'm going to use my mixer for that. And the important thing with the egg yolks, you know, when you put eggs on the stove, they're going to cook, they're going to scramble. And that's what we don't want here. And it's very simple to prevent that from happening just by keeping the eggs moving. I'm going to go set this aside. We're just going to wait till it cools off for the next step. Okay, so here's the egg yolk bowl number 2. I'm going to set this on, and I'm going to turn on my mixer immediately, so I won't try to talk so that you won't have to worry about not being able to hear me. But what I'm going to do is mix while it heats until it gets like a thick sauce. The recipe I use, it says until it appears like marshmallow sauce. So whatever that means to you, I will show you what I want it to look like so you won't have to guess. Okay, here we go. Give it a little warm up. And down. And keep the cord out of the way of the stove. can see how that's a little bit thick and jiggly. Sort of marshmallowy, like they say. And I'm gonna unplug my mixer, take out my feeders. And as I said, I have two sets of most things, so I actually have two sets of beaters. I'm gonna use my other set for the rest of this recipe. I'll turn off my stove. We won't need that anymore. We only needed it for the two large bowls. Okay, so let's move some things out of the way and set this back up. My chest freezer, which I use as a counter. Okay, so we've got the two large bowls. Those are done. And we're going to pour the egg yolk mixture into the chocolate mixture. Just mix that all together. For other steps in this recipe, you are going to need to know how to fold instead of just stir. And you kind of want to scoop underneath and fold it over on itself, like that. Not going to matter as much in this step, so I'm just going to kind of whip it around. Just making sure it all becomes one mixture. One incorporated mixture. Okay. So this is the waiting part of the recipe. So it's just waiting until this cools off. And once it cools off to room temperature, you can do the rest of this recipe with the two medium-sized bowls. So what I'm going to do now is, one time I tried putting this in the fridge to see if I could get it to cool off faster. I do not recommend that, because then you end up with these bits of hardened chocolate throughout, and that didn't work very well. So I just leave it on the counter, can cover it up so nothing gets in it. It's important in a house like this where I do have dogs, and I just like to be extra vigilant. And I use my nice clean apron, I lint roll my clothes, and I can't stand the thought that there would be dog fur in anything that I make. So that's going to stay aside, and I'm going to stop the video and do the other steps separately so that you can use them for this recipe or for other basic skills, because those are really good skills to have, knowing how to whip up egg whites or heavy cream. So I'll see you in the next one.